Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. And yeah, it has been a little while once again since I have made a video. I have made a video for like 10 days. I haven't really known what to really talk about. I just am getting like kind of swamped. I really just don't really know what to talk about. Well, I do kind of, but I haven't, but it's kind of like taking me a while to really like get enough stuff done to talk about it because I, there is like something that I am like kind of like working on right now for a future video. I'm kind of like is like kind of similar to what I did in my last video, but it's not really like entirely the same thing. I am just kind of like working on it right now. I'm but yeah, I am like working on like getting through like what I need to do to talk about or to make that video. So yeah, I am like gonna be working on that right now. But yeah, that video that I am thinking of will be like coming up sometime in the future. Yeah, but yeah, I'm not, but yeah, here I am with the video, and yeah, yesterday, like on the 17th, I turned 27 years old. So yeah, now I'm 27 years old. So wow, I'm just like 3 years away from being 30 years old. I mean, just imagine that. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I'm back now, and yeah, and I figured since I really haven't really like known like a whole lot of stuff that I can really talk about for videos, I figured something that I can do is like I've shown you guys like just like how big of a video game collection I've gotten over like the last like 2 or 3 years now. And I figured what I could do is I actually have like gotten like quite a few like games on multiple consoles. Like I've gotten the same game for multiple consoles. I figured something that I could do for there's videos, not like related to video games, is that I could like compare and contrast like a multi-platform games and just like really just talk about both and just really like make my judgment on which one is truly better. So yeah, and this is gonna be one of those videos. This is really just gonna be like kind of what could I really call like this? Just a battle of the ports, I guess. Just yeah, which uh, uh game, like which version is truly the better version? And so yeah, and really just yeah, and this is really just going to be that like the start of me doing that, just like where I compare and contrast multi-platform games. And yeah, and for this video, this is going to be a comparison of the first Mortal Kombat game. Yeah, so of course, like the first Mortal Kombat was originally released in 1992 for the arcades, and yeah, and of course, like today's even like a Mortal Kombat is still like like one of the most successful video game franchises in history. And yeah, and the arcade game is just it really is like one of the most like revolutionary video games ever. Like, yeah, I mean, at the time of its release, like it really was like revolutionary for video games. Like this was really like one of the video games that really did inspire like the rating system. Yeah. So of course, like when Mortal Kombat was first released in 1992, it really did leave like a huge impact. But then yeah, and then in 1993, then Mortal Kombat came to home consoles, and yeah, and Mortal Kombat was of course like two of the systems it was released for was of course the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. So yeah, so for this video, yeah, this comparison is really going to be between both of these versions to really determine which one is truly better. Now, of course, like Mortal Kombat was also like it was also released for like the Game Gear and the Game Boy, but yeah, these versions, yeah, these really just yeah, it really wouldn't really make sense to compare these because these two are like pretty different from each other. They have like some real major differences that it really wouldn't make sense to really compare these. So yeah, so I'm really not going to compare those two. This is really just going to be between the Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version, since like these are like on actual like real like consoles and not handheld systems. Yeah, they have like a lot more space on them and they can really do a lot more than like the portable versions would. And just yeah, and this comparison is really just going to be like how similar they are really to the arcade game, and really just which one really does is like truly better, like what does what better. So yeah, this is really going to be that. Now of course like the way to play Mortal Kombat like definitively is of course the arcade, but yeah, if you do have to get it on like a home system, which one truly is better? Like I'm sure like yeah, I'm sure like most of you really do like do you prefer like one over the other? Like I know which one is really like the was the more and have a better reception. But yeah, which one really does do like what better? Like there are like a whole bunch of like certain things that each one could really do better than the other one. So yeah, but it really just comes down to like what really does the most better and which one is really the better one to recommend. So yeah, so this is just going to be that comparison. So yeah, so this is really just going to be a comparison between the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions of Mortal Kombat. So yeah. So I'm pretty much going to do this kind of like in the same style like the Nostalgia Critic really does, like an old versus new, or Watch Mojo does like their versus videos, where I'm really just gonna like compare each and like for certain topics on like what does like a certain element better than the other. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through like several elements of the games and just really just talk about them and really just determine which one does like each element better. So yeah, so let me not waste any time and let me just get started on this. So yeah, this is going to be between like Mortal Kombat Sega Genesis versus Mortal Kombat Super Nintendo. So yeah, so let's just get started. All right, so yeah, down in the description I do have like all the elements I'm going to be comparing the two. So yeah, if you want to like check out the description down there to really see what I'm going to be comparing, you can really make the judgment for yourself too. All right, so let me just get started with this comparison. All right, all right. First up, we have the controls. Which game does have the better controls? Now, for the Super Nintendo version, of course, like the Super Nintendo controller, it does have like the 4 face buttons. So yeah, and they did do a good job at really just really assigning like a certain function to really each button. Like they have like the high punch, the low punch, the high kick, and the low kick, and they do have like each one assigned to every button. So yeah, so they do a good job at really just giving them like the function to really each button for the high punch and the low punch and the high kick and the low kick. Yeah, and plus yeah, it doesn't really require any button combinations. I mean, for the uppercuts and stuff, like you just have to hold like down and the punch and everything. And yeah, and they do have like the projectiles in the game where you do have to use like the button combinations, but yeah, they are done like with a good combination. It's not like something like the Batman Forever game where like they just have the very weird button combinations where you like got to push buttons like all around the controller, like with the shoulder buttons and everything. Yeah, they do like give the like they do like have like appropriate combinations for like the projectiles and like the fatalities and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, the problem with like the Super Nintendo one, like I did watch like Angry Video Game Nerd's video where he was talking about the Mortal Kombat 1 ports. And yeah, he did talk about like the Super Nintendo version. Like the main problem with the controls is that the controls just feel like very unresponsive because yeah, there could be like a lot of times where you actually are pushing the buttons, but yet it's just like very unresponsive and nothing does seem to happen. So yeah, so that can get pretty annoying and it can cause you to really like lose a lot of fights when like the controls are just so unresponsive. So yeah, so that's really like the main problem. Just the controls just are very unresponsive in the Super Nintendo version. So yeah, but yeah, as far as the Genesis version goes, it was like if you play the Genesis version with just the original 3-button controller, that would probably not really do so well for you because yeah, as I have said before, like just yeah, the original 3-button controller for the Sega Genesis, like the main problem with it is like it's the 3-button setup really isn't conducive for really playing like the games like this. Is by just using like the 3 buttons because yeah, I mean because yeah, it can just be kind of like a pain doing it because like with pulling off the projectiles and stuff, like it can be really hard to really like do it with the 3-button controller, and it can really cause you to really lose a lot of fights because just the three just playing it with the 3-button controller can really not really do so well for you. But yeah, but on the bright side, of course, you do there is also the 6-button controller as well, and yeah, and if you do like play games like this with the 6-button controller, you'll be just fine. Like you'll do really well, just fine. Like the Super Nintendo controls. Like for the 6-button controller, it does assign like the punches and the kicks to like each button. Like like X and A for the 6-button controller are like the punch buttons. X is the high punch and A is the low punch. And then yeah, the C and Z buttons are for like the high kicks and the low kicks, and the B and Y buttons are actually like part of the block buttons as well as start. So yeah, for this one, like you do have like more buttons on here to really like help you out more with more, and plus also like on the Genesis version, the controls are really like a lot more are actually responsive, and they really don't like have that problem that the Super Nintendo one does, where the controls are really just unresponsive and just nothing will happen. Like the controls really are responsive, and there really is no lag with the Genesis controls. And plus, yeah, as long as you do have the 6-button controller, yeah, it'll be fine for you. Like, yeah, yeah, you will be able to really like fight just fine and pull off the projectiles and the fatalities and everything. Yeah, with the Genesis one, as long as you do have the 6-button controller, you can do like you'll get the hang of the controls just fine, and it won't be a problem for you at all. So yeah, so yeah, due to that, with the Genesis one really just having more responsive controls, and really just with the 6-button controller, they do have more buttons on there to really like give the person like better abilities to like block and stuff. Now, I really do think that that does give the Genesis the the advantage for this one. So yeah, so due to that, I really would like give that one to the Genesis. So yeah, the Genesis version does have the better control. So yeah, the Genesis wins this round. So yeah, Genesis has the better control. So Genesis wins round one. All right, round two are the graphics. So yeah, so of course the arcade version of Mortal Kombat, that does like look the best. I mean, of course, like pretty much like all arcade games really do look better in the arcade than how they do for the ones that are ported onto consoles. So yeah, so games obviously do look better in the arcade, but yeah, as far as on the console, which game really does like have the better graphics and which one does look better graphically? Yeah. So yeah, the Super Nintendo version. Yeah, as far as like the graphics go, the graphics do look pretty good. Like it does look like pretty close to the arcade and stuff. Like yeah, if you do look at the character models in like this one in the gameplay, yeah, it does actually look pretty good. Like yeah, the characters pretty much yeah, they do look actually like it is like in a video game. It does pretty much look like close to the arcade. I mean, the arcade one still does look better, like it does like have better definition and stuff, and yeah, and they do like kind of like look better and stuff. But still, like on the Super Nintendo version, like the graphics overall, they are pretty good. Like I said, everybody do like the characters do all still look pretty good graphically. Like 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 the picture is pretty clear for like all the characters, and yeah, it just really does look like pretty close to the arcade. The Genesis version, uh, yeah, the characters don't really like look as good as in this one because yeah, if you like do look at the gameplay itself on the Genesis one, yeah, it does have like more muted colors, and for some reason like they if you do like look at the models very carefully, like whether it's in the character selection screen or like during the gameplay, you'll notice that like the characters for some reason have like small red pixels like in there around them. Like yeah, Angry Video Gamer talked about that in his video, where like they're like just like some red pixels around the characters for some reason, using and stuff. So yeah, and the colors do look like a lot like muted in the Genesis version. Like it does kind of like look like you're watching more of a cartoon than you are a video game. Yeah, it just really just does look more like a cartoon than does a video game. So yeah, so really just yeah, as far as like the graphics go, on the Genesis, they just yeah, the colors really are like a lot more muted, and just I don't really understand the red pixels, and yeah, it's not as clear as the Super Nintendo version is. So yeah, so the Super Nintendo version, it does have the better graphics. Like yeah, it doesn't have like those red pixels around the characters like there are in the Genesis version, and yeah, and it just looks like really close to the arcade, as I said. I mean, the arcade still looks better, but yeah, this does like have the better graphics on it than the Genesis version does. So yeah, Super Nintendo does have the better graphics. So yeah, Super Nintendo wins that round. All right, so yeah, round two goes to the Super Nintendo version. All right, round three is the audio. So yeah, as far as the audio goes, goes yeah, the Super Nintendo version, it does have like some pretty clear audio on it. There are like more voiceovers on the Super Nintendo version than there are in the Genesis version. But yeah, when you do compare like the two audios that the game does have, which one is truly better? Well, yeah, the sound on the Super Nintendo version, it does sound pretty clear. Like when you hear like the announcer, like the voiceover of the announcer saying like fight and announcing the winner and stuff, like the voice samples like of the announcer, it does sound pretty clear. Like you can really like understand like everything that the voice is saying, and yeah, it doesn't really sound distorted at all. In the Genesis version, um, you do still can like understand like all of, like the voiceovers and the audio and stuff, but yeah, it does sound a little more distorted than it does in the Super Nintendo version. Like when like you start a fight, when you hear fight, it doesn't really like sound like as clear as it does on the Super Nintendo version, and it just sounds a little more distorted than it does on the Super Nintendo. Now, to the Genesis version's credit, like when a Scorpion in the game, when he does like do his like projectile where he shoots the spear out, like in the Super Nintendo version, like for Scorpion's voice, like when he shoots it out, you just like hear when like he pulls the person in, he's just like, "Come here!" Like it just is a normal voice. On the Genesis version, when Scorpion does the projectile, like he actually does have his menacing voice, and he actually says, "Get over here!" And so yeah, so at least like the Genesis version does like have like Scorpion's proper voice when he does that, when he does his projectile, but still like the audio in the Super Nintendo version, it does sound more clear. So yeah, due to like a more clear audio and not really like any distortion or any noticeable distortion, yeah, I do think that that really does give the Super Nintendo version the upper hand. So yeah, so the Super Nintendo version does have the better audio. So yeah, Super Nintendo version wins that round. All right, so yeah, so Super Nintendo oh, does have the better audio. All right, all right. At number 4 is the music. So yeah, so really like what I'm going at by that is like really is just like the same tracks that like each version does have like which version really does have the better music. Now, in the description, I'm going to have like a playlist of like the soundtracks for both of these versions, as well as the arcade version, so you can really like compare each version. The arcade once again, like the arcade really does have like the best soundtrack, but yeah, which of these really does have the better soundtrack? Now, if you're looking for if you really are thinking about like music that really does seem to like have a more fit tunes for a fighting game. And I think maybe the Super Nintendo really would like have that because yeah, the Super Nintendo version, like as I'm listening to the music like on the Super Nintendo version, and that does the music here, it does seem to really sound more like like the traditional type of fighting game music that you would hear in like a lot of other fighting games like this. Like it does seem like to still have like that same type of like tone of music as it would be in like a Tekken and Street Fighter and a lot of like games like this that really do like have these just these like ancient or like these characters like this that are kind of like have like the samurai or just like the like from all around the world that's really like coming together to fight in like these kinds of locations. And it's like the music that you is used in the Super Nintendo is probably like more fit for a fighting game, and it really does like really fit the tone of the game better. But the Genesis version, on the other hand, the music in the Genesis version, it does sound like a lot like the nerd said in his video, it does really like have like the signature Genesis feel to it, and it really just does sound a lot groovier than it does in the Super Nintendo version. Like the courtyard music, for example, yeah, the courtyard music in the Genesis version, it really just like does really it does like have like a more groovy beat to it, and yeah, and it just seems a lot more catchy than the Super Nintendo music does, and it really is like that for a lot of the tracks in the Genesis version, where yeah, just a lot of the music tracks in the Genesis version are uh just they are like a lot more catchy than the ones in the Super Nintendo versions are. So yeah, so really just as far as like this one goes, I really just think it really does come down to really like what you're looking for. Are you looking for like a more fit kind of track for a fighting game, or do you prefer the catchier tune? Me personally, I actually do like prefer like the groovier and catchier music to it, because yeah, just the music in the Genesis version is just like really catchy, and yeah, and I even like have seen some people say that the music in the Genesis version is more menacing than it is in the Super Nintendo version, and I can see that. Like, go Goro's Lair, for example, I do think that like it does like have that more like a menacing tone to it, like a more menacing a beat to it than the Super Nintendo one does. Maybe the Super Nintendo it does sound like more intimidating, but at the same time, just like with the catchiness and just how menacing the Genesis version does sound, I really do think that I do prefer it more like in that style. So really, just I think really this one really just does come down to personal preference on really like the kind of music that you really are looking for. But yeah, I really do like prefer like the more groovy and catchy tunes that the Genesis version does have. So yeah, like I said, this one could really go either way. But yeah, I do prefer like the music in the Genesis version more. So yeah, so the Genesis does take the music. So yeah, the Genesis has better music. So yeah, the Genesis wins that round. All right. All right. Next up, now we have the fatalities. Which version does have the better fatalities? Now, of course, like everybody knows about the Super Nintendo version that this one is censored, and it did remove like the blood that like Mortal Kombat is really known for, it, or like it was in the arcade, and yeah, in this version it does censor the blood and like all that violence and stuff. So yeah, there's no blood or anything in this game. So yeah, so that does like kind of like make this one suffer in terms of the fatalities, because yeah, the fatalities in the Super Nintendo version, yeah, they really are like pretty disappointing to say the least. I mean, like as far as like the fatality scale, um, Scorpion, Sonya, and Liu Kang, like they all like have the same fatalities in each version of the game. Like they have the same fatalities that they have in the arcade, where like Scorpion like takes off his mask and it shows the skull and he burns the opponent. Sonya like blows a fireball, well, that burns the opponent, and Liu Kang he kind of just like flops around in the air and then just uppercuts the opponent. Yeah, but as far as like the different fatalities go from the arcade, uh, Kano's fatality, yeah, that's pretty dumb. Like, instead, rather than like a Kano, like a ripping out the opponent's heart, killing them, and they fall down. Like instead, like just like Kano still like does like still reach into the body, but yeah, but when he does like pull out, like he's not holding on to anything. Like there's nothing there, so it really doesn't make sense. Hence, uh, Sub Zero's fatality, it is like kind of cool, because yeah, it rather than like him like ripping out the head and spinal cord, instead he just like freezes the opponent and just shatters them. Um, so yeah, that is actually kind of a cool fatality, and it does kind of like Nerd said that like he feels that it is more appropriate for Sub Zero, and I guess like if you do look at the fact that like Sub Zero does freeze people, like that could like work more or for him, and it could be more appropriate. Like it is probably like what most people would think of when they think of Sub Zero with him freezing people. Yeah, and Raiden also does have kind of a pretty cool fatality as well. Rather than where he just like zaps the head and the head explodes, yeah, he actually just like does electrocute the person, and they just end up like they just like end up like just melting down into ashes. So and yeah, Nerd said that he actually does prefer that one over his original fatality, and yeah, it is pretty cool to see. So yeah, so I guess like Super Nintendo did do a good job with Rain's fatality, but yeah, that really just, but yeah, of course, like the worst fatality is Johnny Cage's, because rather than Johnny Cage like actually like uppercutting the opponent's head off, all he does is he just like kicks the opponent in the chest, and they just like flail around for a second and fall. Like, what the hell is that? So the Super Nintendo, like, it does have like a couple of cool fatalities on there, but the ones that are bad are like really bad, especially Johnny Cage's. Yeah. And what about the Genesis? Now, of course, like the Genesis does like have that code where you can actually like unlock the blood and the original fatalities in the game. But yeah, if you don't put in that code, it is like also censored and stuff. And yeah, and Nerd also said that like he feels that the censored fatalities in this one are actually worse than the Super Nintendo. I'm not sure if I can actually go that far, but yeah, the censored fatalities in this one still are like pretty lame. Like yeah, like with Raid with Sub-Zero, he just like uppercuts the opponent in the air, and Johnny Cage just shadow kicks the opponent off the screen, and Raiden just like zaps the opponent, and they just fall down. And yeah, and with Kano's fatality, like they did like actually like they didn't just like leave his like hand blank when he just pulled his arm out, but yeah, they made like the heart just like look like gray. Like Nerd joked about it like that it was the person's wallet. Yeah, but yeah, it really is just like supposed to be the heart, but they just like made it like just give it like a regular dark color so it wouldn't look like a heart. All right, yeah. So so the censored fatalities in the Genesis version still are pretty bad. But yeah, of course, like this does have like that blood code, and when you put in that blood code, it will give you like the original fatalities with Scorpion, well, not Scorpion, Sub-Zero ripping out the head and spinal cord, Johnny Cage uppercutting the opponent's head off Raiden zapping the head and it explodes, and Kano ripping the heart out. So yeah, so that really does really like is really the big advantage for the Genesis version, that like when you do put in that blood code, it will give you the original fatalities. And due to like the Genesis version having the original fatalities, that really does like really make that one a clear win for the Genesis. So yeah, so this one really isn't a contest. I mean, if you go by the censored fatalities, I mean, yeah, that's just like up to you which one is really worse. But yeah, the bottom line is like the Genesis one, when you put in that blood code, it does have the original fatalities. So yeah, so due to that, yeah, this one is a clear win for the Genesis version. So yeah, so the Genesis wins that round. All right, yeah, and finally, the last uh, category that I want to talk about is the appeal. Like, just which version is really more appealing? So really, this really just comes down to like kind of like the stuff that I have been talking about, and just really just pretty much like what everyone really does have to offer. Like, 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 like I said, like the Super Nintendo version, like it does really have like it does like look very close to the arcade stuff, but yeah, the controls can get like um very unresponsive at times, but yeah, there are still like some cool things about it, like yeah, like one benefit that like the Super Nintendo one really does have is like if you do lose a fight, like you do have like just like infinite continues in use automatically. Like it doesn't matter like how much you lose, you can still like continue you to fight, right, and you won't get a game over ever. So yeah, the Genesis really does, the Super Nintendo one rather, really doesn't like have that to offer, and yeah, and plus yeah, also like there are like the points in between like each round where you can like test your might, where you have like opportunities to like break certain objects, like punch through them, and and really like I feel that like it's easier to really like do that, to really like, because you really just gotta like tap the buttons to really like get like enough like um endurance to really just get enough power to really like punch through the objects, and I really do think like that's easier on the Super Nintendo to do. Yeah, and plus also like I do like the ending of the game, like after you defeat Shang Tsung, um like after like you defeat Shang Tsung, like it shows like all the characters' bodies like being removed from Shang Tsung's body. Like I guess like he's possessing everybody, and then as all the bodies end up falling out of Shang Tsung, and yeah, and you just like hear the voiceover of like all the characters' names, like Johnny Cage, Sonya, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Kano, and all of them. And yeah, so I do find like that pretty cool because the Genesis doesn't have that in it. Like after you defeat Shang Tsung, like just that's it. Like Shang Tsung just goes down, and yeah, you don't get that where he like loses all the bodies. Yeah, so yeah, so there are like some cool things that the Super Nintendo version does have, but the Genesis one, yeah, what does this one have to offer? Well, like I said, of course, like you do help like have that blood code, or like when you do like see the text at the beginning, you enter that code ABACABB, and yeah, it will unlock the blood and the fatalities and stuff. So yeah, so of course like that really is like the big factor with like the Genesis actually having the blood and the original fatalities and stuff. Yeah, and yeah, and like I said, the controls are like a lot more responsive than they are on the Super Nintendo. It can be a little bit of an inconvenience for you. Like if you don't have the 6 button controller when you first get the game, like it can be like a little bit like inconvenient that you have to go get it if you want to play it properly. Yeah, so that can be like a little bit of an inconvenience. But yeah, if you do have it, like yeah, just that is the one that you do want to play the game with. And yeah, yeah, and plus also like this version also does like it does have a second code on it in like the main menu where you can like unlock more cheats and stuff where you can actually give yourself like infinite continues on there. But yeah, you do have to know that code in order to do it. Like if you just like put in the blood code, you will just play the game pretty much just in the arcade style where like if you do lose you just have like a limited amount of tries to continue it, and yeah, and you could get a game over. But yeah, so you yeah you got to know like that code in order to really like give yourself infinite continues. And plus now there are like also some other things you can do you also in there. Yeah, and the Genesis one, it really just does have like more cheats to it, and yeah, so you can really like make it like more beneficial for you. Yeah, and also like even if you don't have that code where you can give yourself infinite continues, you can like also there is like an option and in the menu where you can actually give yourself like up to 6 try to continue rather than just 3 as it normally is. So yeah, so it does at least make it like it is closer to the arcade in that style where you do feel more like you are like actually playing it in the arcade with a limited amount of continued tries to it. And yeah, and like I said, it just yeah I should also mention that I didn't really talk about like the pit fatality before. Like yeah, going back to the fatalities for a second. Like yeah, yeah, in the Super Nintendo version, like when you do like play over the pit, like when you do have like fights over the pit, like the fatality for the pit in like the Super Nintendo one, it doesn't look very good because yeah, without blood, it just really doesn't look right. Yeah, and yeah, this and in the Genesis version is another one where like if you don't put in like that blood code with the censored fatality, you don't even get like the pit fatality. But yeah, when you do, yeah, if you do put in the code and you do have the pit fatality, yeah, it does look like a lot. Yeah, it does actually look proper with the blood and everything. Yeah, so I guess that is like another benefit to the Genesis one. Granted, you do have to put in that blood code, but yeah, when you do, yeah, it'll still like be the original fatality in it. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and I guess like um also like the Genesis one, it does like when you are playing it, it does kind of feel more like you are playing the arcade because because the tough parts in the game, like when you go through like the endurance levels and like when you fight Goro and stuff, like it is like it does seem like relatively harder to do. But yeah, at the same time, well, I shouldn't really say harder, but it does really feel more like you are like playing the arcade, where it's not really as difficult well, in the endurance levels. Because yeah, nerds said like for the Super Nintendo one, like just the endurance levels in the Super Nintendo version are just like very frustrating and annoying because like with the unresponsive controls, it really just makes it a lot more frustrating, and it just really seems like it is trying your patience. While in the Genesis one, like it does with the more responsive controls, it really just is like seem like closer to the arcade, where it really is just more like testing your endurance and not your patience. And with Goro, like yeah, Nerd said that like the fights with like Goro and Shang Tsung were pushovers in the Super Nintendo version because he defeated them on their first try. I'm not really seeing that. I mean, it is still like pretty tough to fight Goro in the Super Nintendo one, but yeah, yeah. As far as like really just like which one really is the better one, because yeah, each one really does have like something to offer that the other one really doesn't. So really, just when it comes down to it, which one truly is better? Well, I really do think like really just the main factor in it, it really is just that the Genesis one really does have like the original Blood and the Fatality, and the Super Nintendo version doesn't. And really, just that really is like the main factor here, because yeah, just yeah, that is really like the main factor that really does make the Super Nintendo version suffer, is the censorship. Because yeah, people really do, when they are like playing Mortal Kombat at home, they really do want it to actually feel as close to the arcade as it possibly can. And yeah, and that's what the Genesis version does do when you do put in that blood code. Like it does have the blood and the original fatalities and all that stuff. So yeah. So yeah, so despite the fact that the Super Nintendo one, it does look more like the arcade, the Genesis one really just does feel more like the arcade. I mean, yeah, with the catchier music, the music, the catchier music, the better controls, and really just the and just really just most of all the blood code. Yeah, the blood code is really like the main factor here, because that is really like does what give the is the Genesis version the really just the biggest advantage over the Super Nintendo one, because it does have like the proper fatalities and it does have the blood and everything. So yeah, so that really it does really make the Genesis version more appealing. So the Genesis version wins that round, and then yeah, and in the end, the winner is the Genesis version. Yeah, I mean, the Genesis version won 4 of these rounds, and the Super Nintendo won 2. So yeah, I'm sure this really isn't a surprise. But yeah, the Genesis version really is the superior home console version of Mortal Kombat. I mean, yeah, and it really does come down to the fact that it really does have like the blood and everything. I mean, as far as like its shortcomings, like the graphics not looking as good, or the audio. I mean, yeah, the blood really does make up for the game shortcomings, and that really is that's really just the main factor here of what really matters, is that it has the blood, and that's really like what most people really would care about, and that really is the only thing most people really care about. So yeah, the Genesis version is the winner. The Genesis version is the superior version. All right. And so yeah, so there you guys go. There is my like comparison of the Mortal Kombat ports. Yeah, so yeah, I do have like other games like this on multiple consoles. Like I just there are certain video games, not just like games like this. I do have like a lot of different games for like multiple systems. So yeah, so if there is a game that was released on multiple systems that you would like me to do another one of these on, comment on my channel and just tell me what other games that were released on multiple systems that you'd like me to do a video like this on. All right. But so there you guys go. That is my comparison of the Mortal Kombat port. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I am going to try to really like make more videos more often, and I'm really just going to try to think of more ideas. Like I said, I am working on something right now where I am going to really be talking about like a certain subject, but yeah, I am really just like working on that, trying to get through what I need to in order to make that video. But yeah, hopefully that will come out soon. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.